If Jason hadn't left his damn phone on my kitchen table that morning, I'd probably be sitting in a county jail cell right now, or lying 6 feet under frozen Montana dirt. It sounds dramatic, I know. But I've lived long enough to understand that the worst things in life often start with something small, like a phone buzzing on old pine wood. That morning, a thick fog rolled off the Absaroka Range and settled over my ranch like a heavy blanket. I couldn't tell where the ski ended and the fields began. The wind cut through the cracks in the windows, making my knees ache, the way they always do when winter's around the corner. I'm 60 years old, a widower for 3 years, still living alone on this little ranch near Livingston, Montana. It's been just me and the land since Nora died. People say stroke. I say it was the meanest blow life ever landed on me. Money's tight, my back's shot, and half the time I feel like the last stubborn relic left in Park County. But I stay because this ranch is Harper Land, my parents, the place I brought Nora home to, the place Aaron grew up. This isn't property. It's history. Every Sunday, Aaron drives Lily up to visit. My granddaughter is 11, full of sunshine and noise, like a deer that hasn't learned to fear hunters yet. Jason, well, lately he's been working extra shifts covering for a sick co-worker, tired. Excuses come easier to him than breathing. Aaron pretends everything's fine. But no father misses the look in his daughter's eyes when she's scared something's falling apart. That morning, Jason showed up alone, unannounced. His Ford crunched across the gravel, like it didn't want to be there either. "Got some paperwork for you, Willie," he said, too cheerful. "Refinancing the ranch. Lower taxes. Aaron's just worried about you, that's all." He set a stack of forms on my kitchen table, but he wouldn't quite meet my eyes. Jason always tried to come off polite, helpful, the perfect son-in-law. But there was something slippery about him, like a man who'd lie to your face while checking your pulse. I signed where he pointed. The air between us felt stiff. Two men pretending nothing was wrong while everything was wrong. Then he left. In a hurry. And 10 minutes later, I saw it. His phone. Sitting right there on the counter, screen down. I figured he'd be back soon enough, so I kept making coffee. 5 minutes passed. Then buzz, 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 long and steady this time. The kind of buzz you recognize as a string of messages. I set my mug down and crossed the room. Not because I wanted to snoop. I hate noise in a quiet house. I just meant to silence the damn thing and toss it in a drawer until Jason returned. But before I touched it, the screen lit up, and everything inside me went still. It was a photo of Nora, my wife, gone 3 years now. But not the Nora from her final months, tired and fragile. This was Nora younger, smiling that shy half-smile I used to live for. Wearing a red plaid shirt I'd never seen before. Standing in a room with pine-paneled walls and warm yellow light. A cabin. Or maybe a cheap motel, somewhere in Paradise Valley. Below her picture was a message: "Sunday again. Same room. Can't wait to feel you." 8:24 a.m. that morning. The wind whistled through the doorframe, but all I heard was the blood roaring in my ears. Someone was texting Jason. Someone using Nora's picture. My Nora. A dead woman's smile on a stranger's phone. It felt like someone had driven a nail through my chest. I braced myself against the table. I should have put the phone down. I should have respected privacy, should have called Aaron. But you try seeing your dead wife smiling on another man's phone and tell me you'd walk away. Jason always bragged his passcode was easy. I'd seen him tap it in more than once. 08212. Lily's birthday. I drew a slow breath. Typed it in. The phone unlocked instantly. And in that moment, I knew I'd just stepped off the edge of a cliff I couldn't climb back up. The message was still open. But I scrolled up. There was another message from months back, Same picture of Nora, but a different line beneath it. I still have some of her clothes at the cabin. Want me to bring them? Or you want to keep them for us, her clothes? At a cabin. My throat tightened. My hand clenched the table so hard the wood creaked. Nora, my wife, had been at a cabin with Jason. Or someone wanted me to think so. But that photo, that smile, that strange room, they weren't feisty. They weren't staged. A cold truth slid into my spine like Montana wind through a cracked window. Nora might have been cheating. That cabin was real. And whatever happened there wasn't just an affair, it was the beginning of something darker. Something that still wasn't finished. I stood there, heart pounding, breath shaking, and whispered the only words that came to me. This ain't just cheating. And right then I understood. From the second I opened Jason's phone, my life would never be peaceful again. I should have put the phone down right then. Should have walked out to the barn, saddled my old gelding, and ridden until the cold Montana air froze the thoughts out of me. But once a man sees a ghost smiling at him from a stranger's phone, he keeps looking, even if it kills him. Jason's messages were bad enough. But what I found next, that was the blade twisting. A hidden album, locked inside a secure folder. I almost didn't try the password. Almost. But people like Jason don't get creative. Lily's birthday again. 08/12. The folder opened, and my world cracked clean down the middle. There she was, Nora. My Nora. Not the tired woman I held through her migraines, not the quiet wife who drifted away in those last months. No. This was Nora 6 months before she died. Laughing, alive, radiant. In picture after picture, she and Jason stood at a riverside cabin. Cedar walls, wide porch, overlooking the Yellowstone River, snow-peaked mountains behind them, like silent witnesses. Nora wore jeans tucked into boots, hair in the braid she only used when she felt carefree. Jason's arm wrapped tight around her waist, her head leaning on his shoulder. Their smiles, matching. Too matching. My stomach turned to gravel. I scrolled. More photos, her hand on his chest, his face buried in her neck. Her wearing a red flannel shirt, same as the one in the message earlier. A shirt I'd never seen in my house. The timestamps hit me like shotgun recoils. 6 months before she collapsed. 8 months. 7 months. 9 weeks. 2 months before she died, there was a video, Nora sitting on the cabin porch telling Jason, "With you, I feel seen, Jace. Willie barely talks to me anymore. I'm invisible in that house." I froze. Invisible. Nora had used that word once during an argument I brushed off. She'd said I spent more time in the barn than looking at her. I told her she was being dramatic. Told her I had work to do. Damn fool that I was. I kept scrolling. Another text. Her writing to Jason late one night. "Don't make me go back home tomorrow. It feels broken between us. I don't know who Willie is anymore." A punch right to the ribs. My throat burned. Shame, grief, anger, all of it swirled like a Montana blizzard. I'd missed the signs. No worse. I'd ignored them. Her doctor checkups in Bozeman. Those weekends she stayed with Aaron but never came home. The nights she said she couldn't sleep in the same bed because my snoring kept her awake. God help me. I believed it all. And then I saw something that ripped me open in a new way. After Nora died, the messages didn't stop. Not from Nisawin, but from someone saved as R. Short messages at first, then longer. Cold, calculating. R wrote things like, "Don't forget the details of the insurance policy. The cabin stays off the radar." She was sick for months. No one questions heart issues in that family. R knew everything. About Nora's health. About the cabin. About finances that only family should have known. Then one message made the hair rise on the back of my neck. "The old man up on the hill still has no clue." The old man. Me. My hands went numb gripping the phone. Someone close, someone who knew how I lived. Someone who wanted Jason off the hook, and maybe wanted me exactly where I'd been busy. Boots crunched outside. I jerked my head toward the door. Jason's truck. He was back. In a panic, I shoved the phone into the junk drawer, the one filled with old screws, dead pens, and a harmonica I hadn't touched since '94. I pushed it shut, just as his footsteps hit the porch. Knock. Firm. Too quick. Willie. Hey, it looks like I left my phone here. My heart hammered against my ribs like it wanted out. I opened the door with a convinced squint, playing the part I needed to play, the harmless, old-fashioned rancher who still pays bills by check and doesn't know apps from apples. Phone, I repeated, scratching my eyebrow with 2 fingers. Don't reckon I've seen it. I've been out back checking the well pump. Jason's eyes darted around my kitchen. Fast, searching, suspicious. For a second I thought he'd go for the drawer. My muscles tensed, ready to lie harder or fight if I had to. But he forced a laugh. Guess I'll check the truck again. Sorry to bother you. It's no bother, I said, forcing an old man chuckle I didn't feel. These new phones, hell, mine's smarter than I am. Jason smiled, but it was tight, thin, off. Then he left, quick. I waited until I heard his engine fade down the driveway, then walked to the drawer, opened it. The phone buzzed in my hand like a live wire. A new message from R. One sentence that told me everything I needed to know about what they wanted and what they might do to get it. You sure the old man will sign the refi papers? Once he does, the land is ours with or without him. My chest tightened. My ranch. My family's land. And with or without him, that meant one thing. They weren't just stealing from me. They were planning to erase me. I set the phone down slowly, staring at the last word on the screen. Ours. Not if I could help it. Not while I still had breath. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time after Jason's truck disappeared down the hill, the phone heavy in my hands like something toxic. A part of me wanted to throw it into the wood stove and let everything burn. But truth doesn't go away when you burn the evidence. It just crawls out of the ashes later. So I went to the back room, my little office, if you could call a rickety desk and a 12-year-old laptop an office. Lily had taught me the basics during those pandemic video call years. How to back up photos, how to airdrop, how to move files to the cloud, whatever that meant. Turns out the old man up on the hill wasn't as clueless as R thought. I plugged Jason's phone into my laptop, waited, prayed the thing wouldn't freeze. And then the folders started to appear. Messages, photos, call logs, apps, emails, banking. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I damn sure knew when I found it. An old message sent weeks after Nora died. R. He bought the stroke story. You did good at the hospital. My blood ran cold. You did good at the hospital. Jason had been on shift the night Nora died, claiming he just happened to be the one responding when she collapsed. Now I knew better. The walls felt too tight around me. Inside Jason's email, I found PDF forms from an insurance company in Billings. A life insurance policy. Amount $750,000. Insured Nora Harper. Date signed 4 months before her death. Original beneficiary, me. But there were follow-up emails between Jason and someone using an anonymous address discussing beneficiary adjustments. Then a message from R. Don't panic. The payout will move into the Nora Harper Family Trust. You're not the listed trustee, Rory is. Willie's just a cover. Rory. My nephew. George's boy. 38. Handsome, always helpful, always around. He still has no clue, the earlier message said. God help me, I really didn't. I was so lost in the files I didn't hear Erin's car until the door opened. Dad. Her voice cracked in half. I snapped the laptop closed like a guilty teenager. Erin, honey, What are you doing here? Her eyes were red, her cheeks blotchy the way they used to get when she cried as a girl. I can't do it anymore, she whispered. Dad, I think Jason's cheating on me. The world tilted again. She sank into the chair across from me, hands trembling. He's gone most nights, saying he's on call. But the hospital says he wasn't there. I found charges at motels in Livingston and a Big Timber. He lies so easily now. And Lily? I'm trying not to fall apart in front of her. She wiped her face, trying to keep dignity where her heart had been torn open. Dad, do you know something, anything? Please, just tell me if I'm crazy. I stared at her, the little girl who used to run barefoot across the pasture, who once believed her daddy could fix anything. I couldn't drop the whole truth on her. Not yet. Not the part about Nora. That would shatter everything she thought she knew. But she deserved part of it. Enough to see clearly. I opened the laptop again, clicked a single thread, the recent ones between Jason and a woman, labeled with a fake name. Messages, hotel receipts, plans. I turned the screen toward her. Erin gasped, covering her mouth with both hands. He's been lying for months. Maybe longer. Her voice shook violently. Oh my God. What am I? Reached across the table and listen to me, I said softly. You're strong. You're a damn good mother. And whatever comes next, She looked up, terrified. I won't let that happen, I said in a quiet voice that came from somewhere deep in my bones. Erin nodded, but she was trembling. We need a lawyer, she whispered. We need a plan. I opened my mouth to answer, but gravel crunched outside. Bright headlights swept across the windows. A county sheriff is view. Erin froze. Dad? What now? A knock. Firm, not polite. Then the door opened as I reached for it. A woman stepped inside, mid-40s, dark hair, tied back, eyes sharp enough to cut through a lie before it was spoken. Mr. Harper, she asked. Yes, ma'am. She reached into her coat, pulled out a badge, and laid it gently on my kitchen table, right where Jason's phone had been earlier. Park County Sheriff's Office. Detective Carla Monroe. Erin stiffened behind me. Monroe's voice was steady, professional, but carried weight like a snowstorm building on the mountain ridge. Mr. Harper, she said, meeting my eyes, we're reopening your wife Nora's death. The floor dropped out under me. What? Why? She inhaled slowly, as if preparing to deliver something heavy. Because we received an anonymous tip. She paused. Accusing you of murdering her. Silence exploded inside the kitchen. Erin let out a soft, strangled gasp. I just stood there, frozen, breathless, staring at the detective, wondering how far Rory and Jason were willing to go to erase me from the map. Turns out, the answer was simple. All the way. Detective Monroe didn't sit at first. She stood in my living room, like she'd walked into a crime scene, not a rancher's home filled with old saddles, faded family photos, and the smell of last night's wood smoke. Erin hovered behind me, arms folded tight across her chest. Monroe flipped open a notebook. Mr. Harper, I need you to walk me through the night. Nora died. My throat tightened, but I nodded. It was late, I began. Cold night, snow coming in off the Gallatin Range. Nora said she felt dizzy, kept touching her temple. I thought it was another migraine. I could still see her hand gripping the counter, breath shallow, eyes unfocused. She collapsed by the sink, I said quietly. I panicked. I yelled for Jason. He happened to be stopping by after his shift. My jaw clenched. He's the one who called 911. Checked her pulse. Told me it looked like a stroke. And her medications, Monroe asked. Nora had blood pressure meds. And a blood thinner. I hesitated. Jason sometimes helped her adjust doses. Said her readings were off. Monroe's pen scratched. She didn't look surprised. Then she opened a manila folder, Mr. Harper, the anonymous complaint, mentions a specific blood thinner warfarin with an increased dosage in the final month of Nora's life. It also claims she showed signs of over-anticoagulation. My breath left my body. Whoever filed that knew exactly what Nora was taking. She continued flipping a page. It also states that you were, quote, angry because Nora wanted to sell the ranch and move closer to town. What I snapped. That's a damn lie. It also mentions that you had a motive to collect insurance money, a large policy taken out months before Nora's death. Aaron stared at me. Dad, what insurance? I don't know, I said, voice hoarse. I didn't know anything about a policy. Monroe studied my face for a long moment, like she was weighing whether I was a murderer or a fool. Then she said, the complaint also references the exact date the premium was paid from your joint bank account. That one stung like a branding iron. I didn't pay it, I whispered. Someone else did. Someone who had access to ICs. Monroe closed her notebook. We'll need financial records from the last year of Nora's life. We'll also be talking to Jason. And Rory Harper. The name hit me in the gut. Rory. My little brother. 8 years younger. Always charming, always irresponsible, always needing help, but still blood. Monroe tucked her badge away. We'll be in touch. And Mr. Harper. Don't leave town. As if I had anywhere else to go. The door shut behind her, leaving silence thick as winter. Aaron dropped onto the couch, staring at her shaking hands. Dad, this is insane. Someone is setting you up. Someone who knows us. Someone in this family, I said. That truth hurt more than any lie Jason ever told. Aaron sprang up. I'm calling Jason now. I'm going to know. I grabbed her wrist gently but firmly. Aaron, listen to me. If they've gone this far, faking stories, moving money, messing with meds, Jason and R won't panic. They'll erase evidence, create more lies, maybe even hurt someone. You mean, hurt us, she whispered. I didn't answer. After Aaron left to check on Lily, I opened the laptop again. My hands were trembling, but my mind had sharpened to a cold point. I opened the backup folder again, scrolled. Then I found it. A photo taken outside the riverside cabin. Jason standing with another man, face turned slightly toward the water. Only a quarter of his profile visible. But I knew that jawline. That damn leather jacket he always wore. That way he tilted his head when laughing at someone else's expense. Rory Harper. My own brother. My stomach twisted. I kept digging. Another photo loaded. This one inside my own ranch kitchen. Taken months before Nora died. Nora was leaning on the counter, smiling, familiar, tired, warm. Jason was beside her, too close. And Rory was in the background, pulling beers from my fridge like he lived here. I hadn't been in the room. Someone else had taken the picture. There was a message attached from, he really has no idea. We're all sitting right under his nose. My breath hitched. All three of them. In my house. Secrets swirling around me like wolves circling a wounded deer. My wife, my son-in-law, and my own brother. The betrayal wasn't a cut. It was a slaughter. I closed the laptop slowly, staring at the old timber beams overhead, steadying myself, breathing deep, like a man preparing for a storm he knows he can't outrun. Whatever was happening, whatever they started, it began at that cabin. And that's where I'd end it. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even lie down. Around 4 a.m., I sat at the kitchen table with Jason's phone and my old laptop, trying to breathe steady, while a knot of grief and fury twisted in my gut. Lily once taught me something that seemed to seize the time: how to pull up metadata from photos. Papa, she'd said, proudly tapping my phone, every picture knows where it was taken. Back then I laughed. Right now, those words were a lifeline. I opened one of the cabin photos, the one with Nora in that damn red flannel shirt. Clicked info. And there it was. GPS coordinates. 45.128 DJC and 110.634 DJCU Paradise Valley. North of the river bend. Deep in ranch country where the roads weren't so much roads as promises broken by winter. I copied the coordinates into my phone. Erin walked in a few minutes later, hair pulled up, face pale, but eyes sharp with something new purpose. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To see what your mother saw," I said. "And what killed her?" She didn't argue. We left the house at sunrise, telling Lily we were heading into Livingston for errands. The kind of lie a parent tells to protect a child's world from shattering. The moment we cleared town limits, Erin turned to me. "Dad, are we really doing this?" "We need truth," I said. "And truth's up that road. Montana in late afternoon can look like heaven with teeth." The mountains were iced in white. The Yellowstone River cut through the valley like a cold blue blade. Mist coiled above the water as the sun began to dip, turning the edges of the world silver. But the beauty felt wrong. Too quiet, too wide, too capable of swallowing a man whole. The dirt road we turned onto wasn't marked. GPS tried to reroute twice before giving up. The truck jolted hard over frozen ruts. Erin gripped the dashboard. "Who would choose somewhere like this?" she whispered. "People hiding something." The cabin appeared only when we were nearly on top of it, tucked behind a stand of fir trees, wood dark, from years of weather smoke drifting from the chimney. Someone was inside. I killed the engine and coasted behind a scraggly row of junipers. We climbed out, boots crunching softly on old snow. "Stay low," I murmured. The two of us crept forward, father and daughter, moving through silence so thick you could choke on it. Through a narrow gap in the curtains, yellow lamplight spilled across the snow. I leaned in. My pulse hammered. Jason and Rory, side by side at the kitchen table, drinking whiskey like they were toasting the end of the world. Erin's breath hitched, but she steadied herself and lifted her phone, recording through the slit in the curtain. Rory's voice carried bigger, louder, arrogant, in the way only a man who thinks he's untouchable can be. Anonymous tip was perfect. Rory bragged, feet up on a chair. Cops ate it up. Old man's already stumbling. Jason didn't look convinced. He rubbed his temples hard. "I don't like this, Rory." "Erin's suspicious. She's asking questions." "Then give her answers. She can choke on." Rory snapped. "You worry too much." Jason's voice cracked in fear. "I'm worried about Lily. If this blows up..." Rory poured more. Whiskey snorted. "Lily's leverage. If Harper pushes too far, we remind him who the stable one is. Courts always love a medical professional. You'll be fine." I felt Erin shake beside me. Not with fear, with rage. Inside, Rory continued smug. "As soon as the insurance clears, we move everything into the trust. You get your 40% for consulting, and I handle the rest. Willie, he's just a name the company expects to see. Nothing more." Jason swallowed hard. "We shouldn't have messed with Nora's meds," he muttered. "It could come back on us." "It won't," Rory said flatly. "She was already weak. Nobody questions a stroke." "Hell, you made sure of that." Jason dropped his head into his hands. "My lungs burned." Erin pressed a hand against her mouth to keep from crying out. This wasn't just betrayal. It was rot. Deep, deliberate rot. Rory raised his glass. "To clean jobs and clean rooms. This cabin, no one knows it but us." Jason stiffened suddenly. His eyes flicked toward the window. I froze. Erin froze. He stood, walked toward our side of the cabin, slow, cautious. A hunter sensing movement in the brush. "Thought I saw something," he murmured. We ducked down, pressing into the cold dirt, hearts pounding. Rory laughed from inside. "Probably a deer." Jason didn't laugh. Unless the old man got smarter than we thought. His voice chilled my bones. Aaron squeezed my arm. Neither of us breathed. And Jason stepped closer to the window, listening, looking, knowing something was out there, knowing someone was watching. Then footsteps. The creak of a floorboard. The sound of a whiskey glass being lifted. Jason turned back toward the table, but not fully convinced. Aaron leaned into me and whispered barely a breath. Dad, they know. The world held its breath with us. The river, the mountains, the cold Montana dusk all suspended, waiting to see whether we'd be hunted or whether we'd make it out. We didn't breathe until the cabin disappeared behind the tree line. Even then, I kept the headlights off for half a mile, coasting the truck down the old dirt road with nothing but moonlight on the hood. My hands shook so bad, I had to grip the wheel with both fists. Aaron sat beside me sullen at first, then the sobs came. Not loud, not broken, just quiet, steady, crying that hurt more than if she'd screamed. Dad, they killed Mom, she whispered. And they were laughing. I swallowed hard, my throat raw. I know. The truck rattled and bumped over frozen ruts. Erin wiped her face, then suddenly sat up straighter. We're going to Monroe, she said, right now. We have recordings. We have no. The word came out harsher than I meant. Erin stared at me, like I'd lost my mind. Dad, they admitted everything, you recorded them. What are you waiting for? I pulled the truck onto the shoulder, killed the engine, and turned to her in the dim glow of the dashboard. Erin, listen. That cabin is private property. Montana's a two-party consent state. Secret recording inside someone's private home. A lawyer like Rory's will get it thrown out before Monroe can even open her notebook. Dad. And if they know we were there, I continued quietly, they'll erase every trace before the sheriff can get a warrant. They're smarter than we gave them credit for. Her jaw trembled in fury and fear. Smarter. Or more evil. Both, I said. We drove the rest of the way in silence. Cold, heavy silence. Back at the ranch, the house felt smaller than ever, like the walls were listening. We opened my laptop, logged into the Big Sky Mutual insurance portal, using a recycled password Jason had stupidly saved Lily0812. The truth hit us like a hammer. The policy was still active. The payout assigned to the Nora Harper Family Trust. Trustee Rory Harper. Consultant Jason Mondeses. And then the breakdown. Rory, 40% trustee fee. Jason, 40% consultant fee. Remaining 20% heirs, meaning me and Aaron, just enough to keep suspicion low. A plan so cold it made my skin crawl. Oh God, Aaron whispered. They planned everything. Every damn thing. I didn't answer because my phone buzzed. A new text from an unknown number. I opened it, and first stop digging or the girl gets hurt. Attached was a photo of Lily taken at her school's soccer field. From a distance, without her noticing. Aaron saw my face and grabbed the phone. She screamed. No, Dad. We have to call the police. They're watching her. They're watching my baby. Her voice broke apart. I held her shoulders, steadying her, even though I felt like my ribs were collapsing inward. Aaron, listen to me. We will protect her. But right now, calling Monroe without something undeniable. It could trigger them. They'll panic. And panicked men are dangerous men. Dad, I can't lose her, she cried. I can't, you won't, I said, and forced myself to sound solid, even as terror clawed at my insides. No one touches Lily. Not while I'm breathing. But inside, I was shaking like a leaf in a storm. We packed Lily's things within minutes and drove her to Aaron's closest friend, Megan, someone Rory barely knew existed. A different side of Livingston. Different school district. Safe enough for the moment. By the time we returned to the diner in town, Aaron's fear had hardened into something sharper. We hit them back, she said, before they can hit us again. I nodded. We connected to the diner's public Wi-Fi and created an anonymous email. Erin typed, hands trembling, but determined. We know everything. Transfer $150,000 from the trust to the wallet below. Or evidence of Jason poisoning Nora goes to the sheriff. You have 24 hours. We attached a crypto wallet number Michael, Erin's cousin, once set up for fun. We sent the message. Erin leaned back, exhaling for the first time in hours. Dad, if they pay, that's proof. If they don't, they'll make a mistake, I said. She nodded, shaky but hopeful. We thought we'd bought ourselves time. We were wrong. My phone rang before we even reached the ranch gate. Unknown number. But the voice was one I'd known my whole life. Willie, Rory said, calm as a frozen river, we need to talk. I stopped walking. Rory, you and me, tomorrow. Noon, at the cabin. Erin shook her head violently, mouthing, no, Dad, no, don't. Rory continued, voice low and icy. Come alone. No sheriff, no Erin, no games. A beat of silence. Then he added almost casually, or Lily has that accident you're so scared of. The line went dead. Erin crumpled into me, sobbing. And I stood there beneath the cold Montana night, phone still at my ear, realizing exactly what Rory wanted. He wanted me alone. In their territory. Where lies become truth, and truth dies quietly in the snow. Tomorrow I'd have to walk straight into their den. And pray I walked back out. I didn't plan on sleeping. But even if I had sleep, wouldn't have come. Not with tomorrow hanging over my head like a noose. Erin paced the living room, arms tight across her chest. You're not going, she said for the 10th time. Dad, they'll kill you. I know, I answered quietly. She stopped dead. Her voice cracked. Then why the hell would you walk into that cabin alone? I stared at the floorboards, old pine scarred by decades of boots, spilled coffee, and Nora's dance steps when she used to hum Elvis while cleaning. Because if we go, I said, they won't hesitate. They'll take both of us down and make it look like a twisty sides pact. And then Lily loses every anchor she's got. Erin slammed her fist against the table. Dad. I stepped close, put my hands on her shoulders. Listen to me. That little girl needs someone left standing. Someone with a clean record. Someone the law believes. Someone alive. That should be you, she whispered. Not anymore, I said. This started because they wanted me erased. You and Lily are the pieces they haven't factored right. I can buy you time, but only if I go alone. Her face broke again, but this time she didn't argue. She just grabbed me and held on, trembling like the last leaf in a winter storm. Before dawn, I drove into Livingston and found Detective Carla Monroe outside the sheriff's office sipping burnt station coffee. She raised an eyebrow when she saw me. Mr. Harper, you look like hell. Just a long night, I said. Need a minute of your time. Inside, with blinds half closed against the morning sun, I told her not everything but enough. I showed her the text threatening Lily. I told her Rory wanted a private meeting to settle things in the family. I said I was going, so she'd know where to start if something went wrong. Monroe leaned back, studying me. You're leaving things out, she said. I am. You know I can force disclosure. You can, I answered. But then they panic. And when men like Rory panic, kids get hurt. Her jaw tightened. You're walking into something dangerous, Mr. Harper. Yes, ma'am, I said. Monroe scribbled a note, tore it off, and handed it to me. Keep your phone on. Keep the line open. I'll be listening. If shit goes sideways, my team moves. Appreciate it, I said. She held my gaze. Don't try to be a hero. I thought about Nora's smile in the cabin photos. About Lily's small hands laced in mine. About Aaron crying on my living room floor. I'm not trying, I said. I'm just out of choices. I parked a mile from the cabin, letting Aaron follow me in her pickup. She stayed far behind, engine off, hidden behind a bend in the road. I'll call the sheriff if you're not back. By one, she said, gripping my jacket sleeve. Promise me. I promise. Her eyes were glassy with fear. If you don't come back, I'll come back. I lied. Then I turned and started the long walk. Snow cracked under my boots. The air stung my lungs. My knee throbbed with each step, grinding like old machinery. White breath drifted from my mouth, like a ghost trying to escape. And above everything, Nora's face kept flickering in my mind. The real Nora. My Nora. Not the smiling stranger in Jason's arms. I didn't want to die in that filthy little den of theirs. Didn't want them to have the satisfaction. But I'd die there if it meant Irene and Lily lived. By the time I reached the cabin door, my hands were numb, and not just from the cold. I knocked. The door opened. Rory stood there with a grin that made my skin crawl. Well, look who shows up, he drawled. Our favorite old man. Jason paced behind him, pale jittery. Rory gestured inside. Come on in, Willie. Let's talk truth. The moment I stepped in, Jason slammed the door. Rory snatched my phone, turned it off, and tossed it onto the table. We saw your little email, he said. Cute trick. But you forget who taught you half the tech. You know I've been in your accounts for months. Jason nodded weakly. We know about Monroe. We know you went to her. Rory shrugged. Doesn't matter. Family business stays family business. On the table lay something that made my stomach drop. My own hunting rifle. The one stolen from my rack last week. Beside it was a laptop open to a document titled Willie Harper Confession, and a printed letter signature line, empty. I killed my wife, Nora Harper, out of jealousy. I discovered her affair with Jason Montez. I couldn't live with the truth. So I'm ending it. Jason's voice trembled. You sign it, Willie, and this ends clean. No pain, no mess. Rory smirked. Or you make us work harder, and we stage it the old-fashioned way. He tapped my rifle. And don't worry, we wiped it clean. I picked up the paper. Read every disgusting lie. Rory tossed me a pen. Go on. Let's get this wrapped. I held the pen between my fingers. My heart pounded so hard I thought they might hear it. And instead of signing, I looked up slowly, met their eyes, and said, just so I'm clear, which one of you actually changed her meds and forged the insurance forms? Rory leaned back, amused. Jason stiffened, breathed shallow. And then they both opened their mouths. About to brag. About to spill everything. Certain I'd be dead before the truth ever reached daylight. The truth hovered on their lips, and that's exactly where we leave them. Rory smirked, like he finally had center stage. Well, he said, leaning back in the chair, since you're about to sign that letter and take the long nap, I suppose it won't hurt if the old man understands how outmatched he's been. Jason swallowed hard. His hands shook, whether from guilt or fear. Willie couldn't tell. Rory nudged him. Go on. Tell him. He deserves the courtesy. Jason let out a thin, shaky breath. It wasn't hard, he muttered. Changing her meds, I mean. Nora trusted me. Everyone trusted me. I told her doctor she was having new symptoms, head pressure, dizziness, episodes of convulsion. He adjusted her prescription. A grim smile crept across his face, brittle and desperate. But I kept adjusting after that. Tiny changes. Just enough to stress her blood vessels. Just enough to make a stroke look natural. Willie stared at him, every word cutting like barbed wire. Jason rubbed his palms on his jeans. She thought I was helping her. She even thanked me once. Said having a medical professional in the family made her feel safe. Rory laughed. Safe, he echoed. There's a good one. Willie kept his breathing steady, kept his face mostly neutral. He needed them talking. Needed every detail stored in his memory, like rounds in a chamber. And the insurance, Willie asked quietly. Rory's grin widened. Now that was art, he said. Nora had a sloppy little signature easy to replicate. I drafted the trust myself, filed it at the clerk's office, then forged her name on the insurance application. Presto, $750,000 wrapped nicely for delivery. After the stroke, we nudged along. He tapped his own chest proudly. Trustee Rory Harper. Consultant Jason Montez. And you, old man, you were just a sympathy prop. Someone to point the cops at when we needed the heat off us. You wrote the anonymous tip, Willie murmured. Damn right I did, Rory said. And it worked like a charm. Detective is chasing the wrong ghost while we get paid. Jason winced. Rory, we don't need to. Oh, stop, Rory snapped. It's over. He signs the confession, takes his pills, and finds himself a nice warm cloud to float on. Or whatever people like him believe in. Jason rubbed the back of his neck. Let's finish it. This is taking too long. Rory grabbed a brown pill bottle off the table, Nora's name still printed on the label, and shook it with a rattle like dice in a cup. He set it beside a bottle of cheap whiskey. Drink up, dear brother, Rory said. Then sign. We'll stage the scene. Laptop open, spilled glass. Guilt-ridden old widower, overwhelmed by the truth of what he did to his wife. Willie looked at the pills, at the whiskey, at the rifle that had harvested elk, not men, at the faces of two people he once trusted with his family. And he made a choice, a dangerous, desperate, last-chance choice. Before I sign, he said softly, I just need to know one thing. Rory rolled his eyes. What? Whether it hurt her. Honestly, man, she barely felt. Willie's hand shot forward. He grabbed the edge of the heavy wooden table and heaved with every ounce of strength he had left. The table flipped, whiskey crashing, pills scattering like hail across the floor. Rory stumbled backward, arms pinwheeling. The rifle tumbled off the edge and clattered away. Jason lunged toward Willie, grabbing his jacket. They grappled, old muscle versus young panic. Willie's knee screaming in pain, Jason's breath hot and frantic. You stupid old, Jason snarled. And then, the door blew open. Snow and cold air ripped inside as Detective Monroe charged through with two deputies. Sheriff's office, hands where I can see them. Rory spun, hands half raised, half reaching. Jason froze, then dropped to his knees. The deputies swarmed them, one pinning Rory face down on the floor, the other cuffing Jason with a practiced snap of steel. Monroe kicked the rifle farther away and swept the table with her eyes. Her jaw clenched. She looked furious and relieved. Hell of a family meeting, Mr. Harper, she muttered. Behind her, Erin appeared in the doorway, face white as the snow, breath trembling. She stared at Jason, bound on the floor. He lifted his head. Erin, honey, please. His voice cracked. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for. Stop, Erin whispered. She looked at him like she was seeing a stranger wearing her husband's face. You used my mother. You killed her. And you put our daughter in danger. Jason swallowed, tears spilling. I was going to fix everything. I swear. But Erin stepped back, shaking her head. There was no forgiveness left in her. None. Monroe turned to the deputies. Secure the scene. Bag the pills, the bottle, that laptop, and the rifle. I want every fingerprint cataloged. Then she looked at Willie. Her eyes softened, but only slightly. Mr. Harper, she said slowly, I need you to understand something. He stood there, shaking, part shock, part exhaustion, part the slow collapse, after days of carrying fear heavier than winter ice. This doesn't end here, Monroe said. This isn't the finish line. It's the start of a very big criminal case. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "And you, sir? You're right in the middle of it." Willie didn't answer. He couldn't. He just stood there in that cold cabin, surrounded by betrayal, broken men in handcuffs, and the echo of Nora's ghost. And for the first time since all this began, he felt the weight of survival settle on him, like the Montana snow. 3 months passed. Montana winter came down from the mountains like a slow, patient predator, white, heavy, and honest, in a way people sometimes weren't. The case against Jason Montez and Rory Harper climbed through the system faster than anyone expected. Too much evidence. Too many witnesses. Too many lies unraveling at once. By early spring, it reached a district court. Then the grand jury. Then trial. The whole valley talked about it. Jason folded first. He walked into court in shackles, thinner, paler, looking like a man who hadn't slept since the night in the cabin. His lawyers advised him to take a plea deal before the state added a murder charge. He accepted manslaughter, insurance fraud, conspiracy. 20 to 25 years. He cried when the judge read the terms, loud, choking sobs. But not once did he look at the gallery where Aaron sat. Rory, on the other hand, swaggered through the hearings like a rodeo clown who believed the arena belonged to him. He refused every plea. So the state hit him with everything they had: second-degree murder, insurance fraud, forgery, conspiracy, witnesses intimidation, 30 years minimum, possibly life. When the verdict was read, Rory stared straight at Willie with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Don't get comfortable, old man," he muttered as deputies led him out. "Harper blood always gets even." Willie didn't answer. There wasn't anything left to say. Willie didn't expect the lawyers to come after him, but they did. They tried to paint him as a cold, distant husband, a man Nora feared, a man who pushed her toward Jason emotionally, making the affair seem like a misguided search for comfort rather than a step toward murder. Willie sat on the witness stand, back straight, despite the ache in his knee. He didn't lie. He told them the truth, that he'd been stubborn, hard to talk to sometimes, proud to a fault, that he'd shut down emotionally after losing work, after financial strain, after growing old and tired. "But I loved my wife," he said quietly into the microphone. "And being a distant husband doesn't mean I was a violent one. It doesn't justify poisoning her. Nothing does." Even the courtroom fell silent for a moment. Truth had its own gravity. After months of forensic accounting, Big Sky Mutual issued an official statement. The Nora Harper Family Trust was fraudulent. The money was recovered and returned to Nora's estate, which meant it belonged to Willie. He didn't celebrate. Instead, he set up a scholarship fund in Lily's name, the Nora Mae Harper Educational Trust. "Your grandma would want you to have choices," he told Lily as they signed the paperwork at the bank in Bozeman. More than she ever had. Lily hugged him hard. She was only 11, but grief had aged her eyes. Aaron filed for divorce the day after Jason was sentenced. The judge awarded her full custody. Jason's lawyers pushed for visitation rights, monitored limited for the sake of the child. It tore Aaron apart. It tore Lily worse. One night, Willie found his granddaughter sitting on the back steps wrapped in a blanket, staring across the fields toward the mountains. "Grandpa," she whispered, "I don't know who my dad is anymore." Willie sat beside her, the cold wood creaking under his weight. "You don't have to know right now," he said. "You don't have to forgive him. And you don't have to hate him either." He looked out across the snow-laced pasture, where the wind moved like ghosts of memory. "You just have to keep growing. I'll hold the rest until you're ready." Lily leaned her head against his shoulder. For the first time in months, Willie felt something soft move inside his chest. Not quite hope, but the early thaw of it. Late one afternoon, while Willie was fixing a loose hinge on the porch door, his attorney from Billings drove up the ranch road. She stepped out of her SUV, with a folder tucked against her coat. "Willie," she said gently, "something came for you." He wiped his hands on his jeans. "What is it?" "A formal request from the state penitentiary." She handed him the paper. He opened it slowly. "Jason Montez, inmate number 44728. Request for a private in-person visit with William Harper. Reason: I have something to confess about Nora. Something only he deserves to know." Willie stared at the words until they blurred. His attorney spoke softly. "You don't have to go." But Willie already knew he would. He folded the letter, slipped it into his jacket pocket, and looked past the barn toward the distant mountains turning gold at dusk. Some truths refused to stay buried. The state penitentiary sat on a lonely stretch of Highway 191, a concrete scar against the wide Montana ski. Willie had driven past it 100 times in his life, never imagining he'd one day walk through its doors for something other than a distant curiosity. But he was here, because Lily's therapist had said closure mattered, because Erin said she wouldn't go herself, because Amaya, his daughter once loved, had asked to see him, because sometimes the truth has to be faced, even when it cuts. Willie stepped into the visitation room, lit by the kind of fluorescent bulbs that hummed like they were tired of their own existence. Metal tables, plastic chairs bolted to the floor. A guard posted in the corner, arms folded. Jason was already seated. He looked smaller than Willie remembered. Shoulders cuffed inward, hair grown out in uneven patches, eyes dull from too many sleepless nights. "Thanks for coming," Jason said quietly. Willie didn't answer. He sat, folded his hands, waited. Jason swallowed hard. "I didn't ask you here to beg forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it." Willie's jaw tightened. Jason continued anyway. "There's something you never learned about Nora. Something that didn't come up in trial. Something Rory didn't want anyone to know." He rubbed his face, voice shaking. "The night she died, she didn't call me over for what you think." Willie froze. Jason pressed on. She'd been breaking down for weeks. She wanted to end everything, end the affair, end the lies. She said she was going to tell you everything. That she didn't want the insurance, didn't want the trust, didn't want Rory in her life again. Willie felt the world tilt ever so slightly. Jason's voice cracked. "She called me to ranch that night. Not to hide, but to confess, and she wanted me to come clean with you too. She wanted to make it right." He exhaled long and broken. "I couldn't stop Rory." He said Nora was a liability, that she'd ruin everything, that if she talked, we'd all go down. Jason's hands trembled, so he accelerated the plan. That's how he phrased it. Willie blinked slowly. His heart felt like a heavy stone caught between two tides, rage and grief. "She was going to tell me," he whispered, barely audible. Jason nodded, tears spilling freely now. "She was. I know it doesn't make anything better, but she didn't die a traitor, Willie. She died trying to turn back." Silence settled thick between them. The guard at the door shifted. Somewhere down the hall, metal clanged. Willie rose slowly. Jason looked up at him with a child's eyes, lost, pleading for something human. "I'm sorry," Jason whispered. "Not for the scheme, not for the fear, but for taking away your chance to hear her truth from her own lips." Willie's voice, when it came, was rough as gravel. "I'll carry that truth," he said, "and the hurt, and the pieces. But you're the one who has to carry the rest." He didn't wait for a response. He turned and walked out. Montana thawed in April. Snow melted off the ridges of the Absarokas. The Yellowstone River swelled with cold, churning water. The pastures behind the Harper Ranch turned green again, stubborn and alive. Erin and Lily had moved into the ranch full-time. 3 generations under one roof. Some nights were still hard, but most mornings came with laughter, soft, careful laughter, that grew stronger week by week. Erin took up bookkeeping for a horse outfitter in Livingston. No more walking on eggshells. No more telling herself she was overreacting. She was rediscovering what life looked like without fear. Lily kept going to therapy, learning to untangle the knots left by betrayal. She spent afternoons brushing the old mare Daisy and learned to replace fence posts, with Willie hammering nails with small but determined swings. And Willie, he kept fixing things. Broken gates, frozen pipes, loose shingles. He'd spent his whole life repairing the physical world. Now he was learning how to repair the invisible one too. One quiet evening, he went into Nora's old room, the room he had avoided for almost a year. He meant only to tidy the closet, maybe donate her clothes. But instead, he found a small envelope tucked between two wool sweaters. His name on it. Not the forged signature. Not Rory's hand. Not Jason's. Nora's. He sat on the edge of the bed, heart in his throat, and opened it. Her handwriting wavered across the page, hesitant, uneven, but hers. Willie, I don't know if you will ever read this. I don't know if I'll ever have the courage to give it to you. I've been lonely. Not because of you, but because of my own weakness. My own fear of saying what I needed. My own foolish hunger for feeling seen. I made terrible choices. Ones I can't take back. Ones I'm ashamed of. I let people manipulate me because I didn't know how to stand up anymore. That isn't your fault. It's mine. All mine. If I hurt you, I'm sorry. If I disappointed you, I'm sorry. But I never stopped wanting you to be safe. And I never stopped loving the man you are. Stubborn, strong, decent. If anything happens to me, promise me you won't drown in anger. Promise me you'll protect Erin. Promise me you'll watch over Lily. You're better than your pain. Please, live. Not for me, but for them, and for yourself. Willie closed the letter with trembling hands. He didn't cry. He didn't break. He simply breathed deep, painful breaths that felt like they were pulling a lifetime of guilt, betrayal, and unfinished love through his chest. Then he folded the letter, slipped it into a small wooden box, and placed it on the shelf. Not hidden, not displayed, just. Later that week, he stood on the porch watching Lily chase Daisy across the yard, Erin laughing beside the hitching post. Wind rustled through the cottonwoods. The mountains glowed with evening gold. Willie rested his hand on the railing, feeling the rough grain, worn by decades of storms. He wasn't the same man who discovered a forgotten phone on his kitchen counter months ago. He wasn't the man who let life roll over him. He wasn't the old man on a dying ranch. He'd outlived betrayal. He'd outsmarted murderers. He'd protected his blood. He'd chosen dignity over vengeance. He'd fought using patience, resilience, and the long wisdom of age. And he'd won. Not cleanly, not painlessly, but with a kind of honor that only comes at 60, the age when you finally know exactly who you are. He stepped down onto the grass, the last of the snow crunching under his boots. Lily waved at him. "Grandpa, come play with us." He smiled, deep, weary, but real. "Yeah," he said. "I'm coming." Then he turned to the camera in his mind's eye, to whoever might someday hear his story, and asked, "If you were in my boots, would you have burned it all down? Or done what I did?"